So it is a very common occurrence that a lot of the vehicles that are at the SEMA show are just rollers, which is totally fine and acceptable from the standpoint that a lot of times these shops bite off more than they can chew last minute. They just need to get the vehicle there, basically showing what the finished product is going to look like, but it may not have drive shafts, it may not be running. So we understand that, but in some cases that, you can't just push some of these big monster vehicles into the SEMA show. So we really did not want to do that with the Wrecker. This thing needed to be running and driving. That's great in theory, but a lot of our parts were showing up with only a couple days before the show. So even though we pushed to the absolute limit, the exhaust stacks, the turbos, a lot of that stuff wasn't even going on until a few hours before we needed to leave.
My favorite part of the 6x6 build was the pie cut on the compound turbos. The design is amazing. All the tubing that had to fit in the space was very, very compact. We didn't have a lot of space to work with. And just the amount of welding and fitment that had to go into that, and also structure to hold the weight of the turbos up above the motor like that.
Gear wrench tools are professional hand tools for your auto technician and mechanics, as well as your industrial technicians, in a factory or in aviation or whatnot. How we got started was with the ratcheting wrench. We do a lot of voice of customer to find out what our technicians are wanting, and that's how that one got started. There were guys using a ratcheting wrench that was laminated and it wasn't working very well, it was too bulky and whatnot, and so we reinvented that and made it our own and gave it speed, strength, and access, and that's kind of what our mantra is. Now we manufacture everything that you could need as a technician, from sockets and ratchets and wrenches and torque wrenches and lights and tool assist equipment, so like a creeper or socket organization. We kind of have the whole kit and caboodle. The cool thing about Kenny is that he's a really unique guy in regard to what he builds and how he builds it. He's got an affinity for gear wrench and we have an affinity for him, but at SEMA, it's a great example is when you walk by any of Kenny's builds, it's just showstopper. There's so many cars at SEMA that, you see a car that is gonna be awesome driving down the road here, but at SEMA, you might just walk right past it, but Kenny's builds just kind of stop everybody. And we know that Kenny has a lot of need for tools that give him the best speed, strength, and access. Kenny came and told us that he was going to do this Wrecker build and it was going to be a tow truck for off-roading. I said, that sounds like a perfect opportunity for us. He had talked about using the Gear Wrench XL series toolbox on this build. He actually took the 7-drawer, cut it in half, and then used, I think it was 2 drawers on one side and 4 on the other. And he said, yeah, I want to outfit it with tools that would be relevant for a tow truck out on the road. And so I went to our product management team and we found out what were the best tools for somebody that was going to be fixing cars that might be out on the road. But anytime it was going to stop or go, these tools were just going to be a mess. So it seemed like a great opportunity for us to showcase one of our product called Custom X. And what Custom X is it's custom foam inserts for your toolbox. You actually map out what the size of your toolbox is, or you can use our toolboxes that are already mapped out and our tools that are already mapped out and say, I want to put these tools in this foam, in this drawer, and the computer does it all for you. And then what's great is it goes in the toolbox, stop and go, the tools are not moving. And if you have to pick one up or somebody else picks one up, like a 10mm socket, you know what it's missing because it's got that clear identification that it's gone.